The unexpected visitor. The night was quiet on the distant planet of Orion 7. Liam, a young human scientist, sat in his small outpost surrounded by towering silver trees that shimmered under the planet's twin moons. He adjusted his glasses and stared at his monitor, lost in the endless data scrolling across the screen. Liam enjoyed the silence. It gave him time to focus on his research. But tonight, something felt different, uneasy. As he sipped his last cup of coffee, a sharp beep echoed from the console. He frowned and leaned forward. His radar, which had been quiet for months, was now blinking with an alert. A ship, unregistered and uninvited, was descending towards the forest clearing not far from his station. Liam's heart raced. This planet was supposed to be uninhabited except for his team, who were miles away. He activated the external cameras and froze. On the screen was a sleek, metallic ship, unlike anything he had seen before. Its surface glowed faintly, reflecting the moonlight like liquid silver. As it landed silently in the clearing, Liam felt a chill run down his spine. Grabbing his communication device, he debated calling for backup. But curiosity got the better of him. He stepped out of his outpost into the cool night, armed with only a small flashlight. The forest was eerily quiet, as if holding its breath. The ship's door hissed open, releasing a faint mist. Liam stood still, gripping the flashlight tightly. A figure emerged, a tall, elegant alien woman with smooth, pale skin that shimmered like her ship. Her eyes, large and glowing with a soft blue light, locked onto his. She wore a fitted silver suit adorned with delicate patterns that seemed to shift and move, as though alive. Her presence was both mesmerizing and intimidating. Liam opened his mouth to speak, but words failed him. The alien woman took a step closer, her movements fluid and graceful. She stopped a few feet away, close enough for him to see the faint freckles on her cheeks. "Are you Liam Carter?" Her voice was melodic, carrying an unplaceable accent. Liam blinked, surprised. "Yes, that's me." "Who? What are you?" His voice cracked slightly. The woman tilted her head, studying him with an intensity that made him squirm. "I am Zyra, a diplomat from the planet Eloria. I have traveled across the galaxy to find you." "Me? Why me?" Liam asked, his mind racing with questions. He had never even heard of Eloria. Zyra took a deep breath, her glowing eyes softening. "Because I have come to fulfill my purpose. My people have chosen you." She paused, as if searching for the right words. "I am here to be your wife." Liam stared at her, stunned. For a moment, he thought he misheard. "My wife," he repeated, disbelief dripping from his words. "Yes," Zyra said firmly. "It is written in the prophecies of Eloria. Your actions save my people, and the union between us will secure peace for generations." Liam felt as if the ground had shifted beneath him. "I think you've got the wrong person," he said quickly. "I'm just a scientist. I don't even know your people, let alone how I could have saved them." Zyra smiled faintly, a mysterious glint in her eyes. "You may not realize it, but your actions years ago set events in motion that changed everything for my world. Your name and deeds are known across the stars." Liam's mind raced, trying to make sense of her words. Years ago. Could she be talking about the time he accidentally transmitted a distress signal to a distant colony? He had never thought much of it. Just a technical glitch, quickly fixed. Could that small action have reached her planet? Before he could ask more, a faint hum filled the air. Zyra's expression darkened. She glanced over her shoulder at the ship. "We must hurry. They are coming." "Who's coming?" Liam asked, his unease growing. "Those who would rather see us fail," Zyra said grimly. "Enemies of peace. They will stop at nothing to prevent our union." Liam felt his pulse quicken. This wasn't what he had signed up for. He had come to this planet to study plants, not to get caught up in intergalactic prophecies and threats. But as Zyra extended her hand toward him, her glowing eyes full of determination, He realized he had no choice. "Come with me," she said. "If you stay, you will be in danger. But together, we might stand a chance." Liam hesitated, glancing back at the safety of his outpost. Then he looked at Zara. There was something in her gaze, an unwavering belief in him, that made him take her hand. As they stepped toward her ship, the forest came alive with strange sounds, low growls, and the rustling of leaves. Liam tightened his grip on Zara's hand, knowing his quiet life had just been thrown into chaos. For better or worse, he was no longer just a scientist. He was now part of something much bigger, something that might just change the fate of the galaxy. The bold declaration. Inside Zara's ship, the atmosphere was unlike anything Liam had ever experienced. The walls pulsed softly with an otherworldly glow, as if the vessel itself was alive. Strange, elegant patterns flowed across the surface, their movements hypnotic and soothing. The air was warm, carrying a faint floral scent that reminded Liam of spring back on Earth. He stood awkwardly in the center of the chamber, trying to process everything that had just happened. Zara moved with calm purpose, her silver suit catching the ambient light as she touched a panel on the wall. The doors sealed with a soft hiss, and the hum of the ship's systems filled the silence. Turning to face Liam, Zara clasped her hands in front of her and studied him, her glowing blue eyes filled with both curiosity and resolve. Liam broke the silence first. "Okay, let's just pause for a second. You show up out of nowhere. Tell me you're here to be my wife, and now we're in your spaceship. What's going on? Start from the beginning." Zara nodded, as if she had anticipated his confusion. "I understand your skepticism, Liam. Your people are not accustomed to the ways of the Elorians. Allow me to explain." She stepped closer, her movements deliberate and graceful, and gestured for Liam to sit on a curved seat that rose seamlessly from the floor. Reluctantly, he sat, his mind still racing. Zara remained standing, towering over him like a regal figure delivering a decree. "Our world, Eloria, has long been a beacon of peace and prosperity in the galaxy," she began, her voice steady. "But in recent decades, that peace has been shattered by war and greed. Rival factions within our own society have turned against each other, seeking power at any cost. Millions have suffered, and the very essence of our people's unity has been fractured." Liam frowned. "I'm sorry to hear that, but what does any of this have to do with me?" Zara's eyes softened, and a faint smile touched her lips. "It has everything to do with you, Liam. Years ago, during one of the darkest moments in our history, your actions changed the course of events for my people. You sent a signal, a simple message of compassion and aid, to a nearby colony. That signal was intercepted by our scientists, who interpreted it as a sign of hope." Liam's eyebrows shot up. "Wait, you're talking about that old signal. That was an accident. My equipment malfunctioned, and I had to manually reset it. I didn't even know it reached anyone." Zara's smile deepened. "To you, it may have been an accident. To us, it was a miracle. That signal arrived at the perfect moment, inspiring a group of peacekeepers to take a stand against the growing violence. They rallied behind your message, believing it was a sign from the stars. And they succeeded in bringing temporary peace to Eloria." Liam leaned back, trying to wrap his head around the revelation. "That's a lot to take in. But why does that mean you have to marry me?" Zara's expression grew serious. "The prophecies of Eloria speak of a union that will unite our people and restore lasting peace. They foretold the arrival of a star-like messenger, a being from beyond the stars whose influence would bring salvation. When the signal was traced back to you, the prophecy was fulfilled." "Hold on," Liam interrupted, holding up his hands. "You're saying I'm some kind of chosen one because of a glitch? That's crazy." "To you, it may seem so," Zara replied calmly. "But to my people, you are a symbol of hope and destiny. And as the chosen diplomat, it is my honor and my duty to form this bond with you." Liam stared at her, his thoughts a chaotic jumble. He couldn't deny the sincerity in her voice or the weight of her words, but the idea of being part of an alien prophecy was overwhelming. "What if I say no?" he asked cautiously. Zira hesitated, her glowing eyes flickering with emotion. "You are not a prisoner, Liam. You are free to make your own choice. But know this, without your agreement, the factions will descend into chaos once more. The peace we have fought so hard to maintain will crumble, and countless lives will be lost." The weight of her words settled heavily on Liam's shoulders. He looked away, unsure of what to say. Just a few hours ago, his biggest concern had been cataloging plant specimens. Now he was being asked to save an entire civilization by agreeing to a marriage with an alien woman he had just met. Before he could respond, the ship suddenly shuddered and the lights dimmed. Alarms blared, and Zira's serene demeanor vanished, replaced by urgency. She pressed a button on the wall, and a holographic display appeared, showing several smaller ships closing in on them. "They'd found us," Zira said, her voice tight with tension. "Who?" Liam asked, jumping to his feet. "The ones who oppose peace," she replied. "Ruthless factions that will stop at nothing to ensure the prophecy fails." As the ship jolted again, Liam's heart pounded. He looked at Zira, her calm composure now replaced with determination. For the first time, he realized how much she was risking to be here. "What do we do?" he asked, his voice steady despite the chaos. Zira met his gaze, her glowing eyes fierce. "We fight, together." In that moment, Liam understood that his life was no longer his own. Whether he liked it or not, he had become part of something far greater. And as the ship prepared for battle, he knew there was no turning back. A cultural revelation. The ship glided silently through the vast expanse of space, leaving the chaos of the enemy ships behind. Liam sat in the passenger seat, his heart still racing from their narrow escape. Zira's fingers danced over the controls, her movements precise and deliberate. Despite the tension, she seemed calm, her focus unshaken. After what felt like an eternity, the ship's alarms silenced, and the glowing interior lights returned to their soft, soothing hue. Liam let out a shaky breath, leaning back in his seat. His thoughts were a whirlwind, and he struggled to make sense of everything that had happened. "I think I deserve some answers," he said finally, breaking the silence. "You've told me about your people, the prophecy, and why you're here. But I still don't understand what this all really means. What's expected of me? What kind of life are you asking me to step into?" Zira glanced at him, her glowing blue eyes reflecting a mix of sympathy and determination. "You are right. You deserve to know everything. But before I explain, I must show you something." She touched a control panel, and the ship's walls shifted, transforming into a panoramic view of the galaxy outside. Stars glittered like diamonds against the infinite darkness, and Liam felt a sense of awe he hadn't experienced in years. "This," Zira began, gesturing to the stars, "is the Aelorian constellation. My people have charted this region for millennia, drawing strength and wisdom from the celestial patterns. But we are not the only ones who look to the stars. Every culture, every species, finds meaning in the infinite sky." Liam nodded slowly. "Okay, but what does that have to do with me?" Zira stepped closer, her expression softening. "The prophecies of Aeloria are more than just ancient stories. They are a guide, written by our ancestors, who believed that the stars themselves would one day send a messenger, a being from beyond who would bridge the divide between our people and bring peace. For centuries, we waited, and then your signal arrived." Liam rubbed the back of his neck, feeling the weight of her words. "I'm just a scientist, Zira. I didn't send that signal on purpose. It was a mistake." "To you, it was a mistake," Zira said gently. "But to us, it was fate. The signal contained not only a request for aid, but also a message of unity. It inspired our people to believe that we were not alone in the universe. It gave us hope during a time when hope was scarce." Liam sighed, staring at the stars outside. So your people think I'm some kind of savior because of that signal? Not just my people, Zyra said. There are those who believe in the prophecy and those who oppose it. The factions that attacked us see your presence as a threat. They fear change and cling to the old ways, even if it means endless war. Liam frowned. But why does it have to be a marriage? Can't we work together without all this prophecy stuff? Zyra hesitated, her hands clasped in front of her. The union is symbolic, Liam. It represents the merging of two worlds, two cultures. By standing together, we show our people that cooperation is not just possible. It is essential. Liam shook his head. That's a lot to put on one person. I know, Zyra said softly. And I do not expect you to make this decision lightly. But you should understand what is at stake. She pressed another button on the console, and a holographic image appeared in the center of the room. It showed a bustling city on Eloria, its spires reaching toward the sky. The streets were filled with people of all shapes and sizes, their skin glowing faintly like Zyra's. But as the image shifted, it revealed scenes of destruction, buildings reduced to rubble, fires raging, and frightened faces in the shadows. This is what we are trying to prevent, Zyra said, her voice tinged with sadness. Our world is on the brink. If we fail, everything we have built will be lost. Liam stared at the hologram, the weight of her words settling over him. He had never imagined his actions, intentional or not, could have such far-reaching consequences. And you really believe that this union will change things? He asked. I do, Zyra said firmly. But it is not just about the prophecy. It is about trust, cooperation, and the willingness to stand together in the face of adversity. Liam met her gaze, searching for any hint of doubt. But all he saw was unwavering conviction. And what about you? He asked. What do you want out of this? Zyra's expression softened. I want what is best for my people. But more than that, I want you to see that you are more than just a scientist. You have the power to inspire, to unite. That is why I came to you, Liam. Not because of a prophecy, but because I believe in you. Her words struck a chord deep within him. For so long, Liam had seen himself as just another cog in the machine, a man doing his job, nothing more. But now, he was being asked to step into a role he never imagined, with stakes higher than he could comprehend. As the ship continued its journey, Liam sat in silence, staring at the stars. He didn't have all the answers yet, but one thing was clear. His life would never be the same again. The unseen threat, the soft hum of Zyra's ship, had become a comfort to Liam after the chaos of their escape. As they sped through uncharted space, he found himself admiring the intricate designs etched into the ship's walls. The patterns shifted subtly, like ripples on water, and he wondered if they were decorative or served some alien purpose. Zyra stood at the control console, her posture rigid and focused. She hadn't spoken much since their discussion about the prophecy. Her glowing blue eyes scanned the holographic display of nearby star systems, her fingers brushing controls with precision. Liam could sense her unease, though she masked it well. Are we safe now? Liam asked, breaking the silence. For the moment, Zyra replied without turning. But we cannot remain complacent. Our enemies are relentless. They will not stop until they have ensured the prophecy fails. Liam frowned. Why are they so afraid of this prophecy? What could they possibly gain by keeping your planet divided? Zyra sighed, her shoulders slumping slightly. Power. Chaos benefits those who thrive in the shadows. The factions that oppose peace have built empires from the suffering of others. They fear unity because it would strip them of their influence. Liam leaned back in his chair, letting her words sink in. And I'm supposed to be the key to fixing all of this, he said, shaking his head. I don't even know how to fight, let alone deal with galactic politics. You are more capable than you realize, Zyra said, turning to face him. You have already inspired change without even trying. Imagine what you could do if you embraced your potential. Before Liam could respond, a sharp alarm echoed through the ship. The holographic display lit up with red indicators as multiple ships appeared on the radar, closing in fast. Zyra's expression darkened, and she sprang into action, her fingers flying over the controls. "What's happening?" Liam asked, his voice rising with panic. "They found us," Zyra said grimly. "The enemy is here." Liam's stomach dropped as the ship jolted violently. A blast of energy skimmed past them, lighting up the viewport with an eerie glow. Zyra maneuvered the ship with expert precision, weaving through the barrage of attacks. "We're not equipped for prolonged combat," Zyra said, her voice tight with urgency. "I need you to help me." "Help you? How?" Liam asked, gripping the edge of his seat. Zyra pointed to a secondary console. "That panel controls the defensive systems. I need you to activate the shielding matrix and target their weapon systems." Liam scrambled to the console, his hands trembling. The interface was unlike anything he had seen before, covered in glowing symbols that shifted and rearranged. He hesitated, overwhelmed by the complexity of it all. "Focus, Liam," Zyra said, her tone firm but encouraging. "The ship will guide you. Trust your instincts." Taking a deep breath, Liam began pressing symbols that seemed to correspond with the ship's functions. To his surprise, the console responded intuitively, as if it could sense his intentions. A shimmering blue shield enveloped the ship, absorbing the next wave of attacks. "Good," Zyra said, glancing at him with a faint smile. "Now, target their weapons." Liam's confidence grew as he worked. He selected one of the enemy ships on the display and activated a pulse cannon. A beam of light shot from their ship, striking the target and disabling its weapons. The enemy ship spiraled out of control, retreating from the fight. "I got one," Liam exclaimed, a mixture of shock and exhilaration in his voice. "Excellent," Zyra said, her eyes glowing brighter with approval. "But we're not done yet." The remaining ships pressed their attack, their blasts growing more coordinated. Despite the shield's strength, the constant assault began to take its toll. Alarms blared, and the ship shuddered with each impact. "We can't keep this up," Liam said, his voice laced with fear. "They're going to overwhelm us." Zyra's jaw tightened as she adjusted their trajectory. "There's a nebula ahead. Its radiation will interfere with their sensors. If we can reach it, we might lose them." "What happens if the radiation messes with us too?" Liam asked. Zyra met his gaze, her expression resolute. "Then we adapt. Trust me, Liam. We'll make it." The ship surged forward, its engines straining under the increased speed. The nebula loomed ahead, a swirling mass of vibrant colors that seemed both beautiful and menacing. Liam gripped the console, bracing himself as they entered the cloud. Immediately, the viewport filled with a kaleidoscope of light. The ship's systems flickered, and the hum of the engines became erratic. Liam felt a surge of panic, but forced himself to focus, monitoring the defensive systems for any sign of the enemy. "They're still following us," Liam said, watching the radar. "Not for long," Zyra replied. She initiated a maneuver that sent the ship spiraling through the nebula, leaving a trail of energy bursts to confuse their pursuers. The plan worked. One by one, the enemy ships broke off, their sensors unable to track Zyra's precise movements. When the radar finally cleared, Liam let out a breath he hadn't realized he was holding. "We did it," he said, slumping back in his chair. Zyra allowed herself a small smile, but her eyes remained wary. "For now, but they will not stop. We must stay vigilant." As the ship emerged from the nebula, Liam couldn't help but feel a newfound respect for Zyra. Despite the danger, she had remained calm and focused, her determination unshaken. He realized then that he was no longer just a passive observer in this journey. He was part of it now, whether he liked it or not. And for the first time, he began to wonder if Zyra was right. If he truly had the potential to make a difference. The Great Escape. The ship drifted in silence, cloaked in the swirling radiation of the nebula. Liam sat slumped in his chair, his heart still pounding from the chaos of the battle. The hum of the ship's systems had settled to a faint murmur, but tension lingered in the air. Zira moved methodically around the cockpit, scanning for signs of pursuit while making quick repairs to the damaged systems. "That was too close," Liam said, his voice breaking the silence. Zira glanced at him, her glowing blue eyes softening. "You handled yourself well. Most would have panicked, but you adapted. That is a rare quality." Liam let out a dry laugh. "Rare or not, I'm still just a scientist. I'm not cut out for this kind of thing." Zira tilted her head, studying him for a moment. "You underestimate yourself. Strength is not measured only in physical skill or combat. It is measured in resilience, in the ability to rise when you feel overwhelmed. That is what you have shown." Before Liam could respond, a sharp ping echoed through the cockpit. Zira's expression darkened as she turned to the radar. "They're back," she said, her voice low and urgent. Liam's stomach twisted. "What? How did they find us in the nebula?" "Persistence," Zira said grimly. "The factions opposing us are resourceful. They likely deployed advanced tracking drones before we entered the nebula." Another alarm blared, louder this time. The ship's holographic display lit up, showing 3 enemy vessels closing in fast. Unlike the ships from before, these were larger and more heavily armed. Their dark, angular designs looked menacing against the backdrop of swirling colors. "What do we do now?" Liam asked, his voice tight with fear. Zira's hands moved quickly over the controls. "We cannot fight them directly, not in our current state. Our only option is to outmaneuver them." She tapped a series of commands, and the ship surged forward, diving deeper into the nebula. The viewport filled with vibrant colors, but Liam noticed the turbulence increasing. The ship shook violently, and warning lights flickered across the console. "Are you sure this is a good idea?" Liam shouted over the noise. "It's our only chance," Zira replied. "The radiation in this part of the nebula is highly unstable. It will disrupt their sensors, but it will also push our ship to its limits." The enemy ships followed, their weapons firing sporadically as they struggled to maintain a lock on Zira's vessel. Explosions lit up the nebula behind them, casting eerie shadows across the cockpit. "Hold on," Zira warned, gripping the controls tightly. She guided the ship through a dense cluster of glowing gas clouds, the turbulence growing stronger with each passing second. Liam clung to his seat, his knuckles white. He could feel the strain on the ship as it twisted and turned, narrowly avoiding bursts of radiation and debris. The enemy ships were relentless, their energy blasts grazing the shields and sending sparks flying across the cockpit. "Shields are failing," Liam shouted, reading the flashing alerts on the console. "I know," Zira said through gritted teeth. "We're almost there." "Almost where?" Liam demanded. Instead of answering, Zira pressed a button on the console, and a new holographic display appeared. It showed a massive asteroid field ahead, its jagged rocks spinning dangerously in the nebula's gravity. Liam's eyes widened in disbelief. "You're not serious," he said. "It's the only way," Zira replied. "Their ships are too large to navigate the asteroid field. If we can make it through, they'll have to abandon the chase." Liam swallowed hard. "And what if we don't make it?" Zira glanced at him, her expression unwavering. "Then at least we tried." The ship plunged into the asteroid field, weaving between massive rocks that tumbled through the void. Liam's heart felt like it was about to burst as he watched the debris hurtling past them. Each near miss left him gripping the edges of his seat, his breath caught in his throat. Behind them, the enemy ships hesitated at the edge of the field. One vessel attempted to follow but was struck by a massive asteroid, exploding in a brilliant flash of light. The other 2 ships pulled back, their captains unwilling to risk the same fate. "They're retreating," Liam said, his voice filled with a mixture of relief and disbelief. "For now," Zyra said, her focus never wavering. "But we cannot stay here. The radiation will damage the ship if we remain too long." As they cleared the asteroid field and entered a pocket of calm space, Liam felt his body relax for the first time in what felt like hours. He leaned back in his seat, letting out a long breath. "That was insane," he said. "I can't believe we made it." Zyra smiled faintly, her glowing eyes meeting his. "You doubted me." Liam chuckled, shaking his head. "No. Well, maybe a little." Zyra laughed softly, a sound that seemed to lighten the heavy atmosphere. "Doubt is natural, Liam. But so is courage. You have more of it than you realize." As the ship continued its journey, Liam found himself reflecting on her words. Despite the danger, he had managed to hold his own. He wasn't just a passenger anymore. He was part of this mission, whether he liked it or not. And as he glanced at Zyra, her determination unshaken despite everything they had faced, he felt a spark of something he hadn't felt in years. Hope. The ultimate decision. The silence inside the ship was almost deafening after the chaos of their escape. The soft glow of the control panels bathed the cockpit in a calming light, but Liam's mind was anything but calm. He leaned against the edge of the console, his fingers brushing the cool metal as he tried to process the events of the last few hours. Zyra sat across from him, her posture as poised as ever. She had been silent since they had cleared the asteroid field, her glowing eyes fixed on a holographic map of the galaxy. Her focus seemed unshakable, but Liam could see the faint tension in her jaw, and the way her hands gripped the edge of her seat. Finally, Liam broke the silence. "So what now? We just keep running." Zyra turned to him, her expression softening. "Running is not the answer, Liam. It was a necessity to survive, but survival alone is not enough. We must act." Liam frowned. "Act how? I've already done more in the past day than I thought I was capable of. I'm not a fighter, Zyra. I'm not a leader. I'm just a guy who got caught up in something way over his head." Zyra studied him for a moment, her glowing eyes searching his face. "You are more than you believe yourself to be," she said quietly. "You may not see it yet, but you have already begun to change. And that change has the power to inspire others." Liam let out a frustrated sigh. "You keep saying that, but I don't know if I believe it. How can I inspire anyone when I can barely keep myself together?" Zyra stood, her tall frame commanding yet graceful. She walked over to the viewport, where the stars stretched endlessly before them. "Let me show you something," she said, gesturing for him to join her. Reluctantly, Liam stood and moved to her side. Zyra pressed a series of buttons on the panel beside the viewport, and the stars outside seemed to shift. A new image appeared, projected against the glass. It was a live feed from Aloria. The planet was breathtaking, a vibrant sphere of blues, greens, and golds. Its continents were dotted with sprawling cities, their glowing spires reaching toward the heavens. But the beauty was marred by scenes of devastation. Smoke rose from ruined buildings, and the faint glow of fires dotted the landscape. It was a world on the brink of collapse. "This is what we fight for," Zyra said, her voice tinged with sadness. "Not just the land or the cities, but the lives of those who call it home. My people are not warriors by nature. They are builders, artists, dreamers. But they are caught in a conflict they cannot escape without help." Liam stared at the image, his chest tightening. He could see families huddled together in the shadows, their faces etched with fear. He saw children clinging to their parents, their innocent eyes reflecting the chaos around them. It was a sight that hit him harder than he expected. "They believe in you, Liam," Zyra continued. "Even if they have never met you. They believe in what you represent. A chance for unity. A chance for peace." Liam looked away, overwhelmed. "But why me? There must be someone else, someone more qualified, more capable." "There is no one else," Zyra said firmly. "The prophecies spoke of the starlight messenger, a being from beyond who would bring hope to our people. That is you, Liam. Whether by fate or chance, you have become part of something much greater than yourself." He shook his head, his mind racing. "I didn't ask for this. I didn't want any of this." "No one asks for destiny," Zyra said softly. "It comes to us whether we are ready or not. But what matters is how we choose to face it." Liam turned back to the viewport, his eyes lingering on the planet below. He thought about his quiet life on Earth, the comfort of routine, and the safety of his research. But he also thought about the faces he had just seen, the people who were depending on him, even if they didn't know it. "What happens if I say yes?" he asked finally. Zara's expression softened, a hint of hope flickering in her glowing eyes. "If you say yes, we will return to Eloria together. Our union will serve as a symbol of hope and unity. It will not solve all of our problems, but it will give my people a reason to believe again. And with belief comes action, and with action, change." "And if I say no?" Liam asked, his voice barely above a whisper. Zira hesitated, her gaze dropping for the first time. "If you say no, the factions will continue to divide us. The fighting will grow worse, and eventually, Eloria will fall." The weight of her words settled over him like a heavy blanket. Liam closed his eyes, his mind swirling with doubt and fear. He had never considered himself a hero, let alone someone who could change the course of an entire planet's history. But now, faced with the reality of the situation, he realized he couldn't ignore it. "I don't know if I'm the person you think I am," he said finally, "but I'll try. For your people, for you." Zira's eyes widened, and for the first time, Liam saw a genuine smile cross her face. It was a small, subtle thing, but it radiated warmth and gratitude. "Thank you, Liam," she said, her voice barely above a whisper. "You have no idea what this means to us." As she stepped back to the controls, Liam felt a strange sense of calm settle over him. He didn't know what the future held, but for the first time in his life, he felt like he was exactly where he needed to be. A union of hope. The ship broke through the dense atmosphere of Eloria, its sleek form cutting through the golden clouds that stretched across the planet's sky. Liam stood near the viewport, his breath catching as the sprawling capital city came into view. Even from this altitude, he could see the intricate beauty of Eloria's architecture, its towers spiraling gracefully like ribbons of light, surrounded by lush forests and sparkling rivers. "It's beautiful," Liam said softly, his voice tinged with awe. Zira stood beside him, her expression a mix of pride and trepidation. "It is," she said, "but beauty alone cannot save us." The comms crackled, and a calm voice greeted them. "Zyra, you've returned. The council is ready." Liam glanced at her, his nerves rising. "Ready for what exactly?" "For the ceremony," Zyra replied, her tone steady, but her eyes betraying a flicker of uncertainty. "This is the moment we've been preparing for, Liam. The council will witness our union, and with it, the prophecies will be fulfilled." Liam swallowed hard, the weight of her words settling over him. "And if it doesn't work?" Zara turned to him, her gaze unwavering. "It will. Because you are here, and because you chose to stand with us." The ship descended into the city, landing smoothly on a platform adorned with shimmering banners. As the doors opened, a crowd of Elorians awaited them, their glowing eyes filled with hope and curiosity. Liam hesitated, his heart pounding, but Zara extended her hand toward him. "Come," she said gently. "They are here to see you." Taking a deep breath, Liam took her hand and stepped out onto the platform. The crowd erupted into soft, melodic cheers, their voices blending into a harmonious chorus that seemed to resonate through the air. The sound was both alien and comforting, and Liam felt a strange sense of belonging. As they walked toward the Grand Hall, flanked by members of the Elorian Council, Liam noticed the diversity among Zyra's people. Their skin shimmered in various hues, their attire intricate and flowing, each design reflecting the unique blend of art and tradition. Despite their differences, they all shared the same expression of hope, a hope that now rested on his shoulders. The Grand Hall was unlike anything Liam had ever seen. Its walls glowed with shifting patterns of light, depicting scenes from Aelorian history. The ceiling seemed to stretch infinitely upward, its surface adorned with constellations that mirrored the night sky outside. At the center of the hall stood a circular platform, its surface etched with intricate symbols that pulsed faintly with energy. "This is the Unity platform," Zyra explained as they approached. "It has been used for generations to seal agreements of peace and solidarity. Today, it will mark the beginning of a new era." Liam stepped onto the platform beside Zyra, his palms sweating. The council members gathered around them, their presence both imposing and reassuring. The eldest among them, a tall figure with deep golden eyes, raised their hands, and the room fell silent. "Liam Carter of Earth," the elder began, their voice resonating like a song. "You stand here today as a symbol of unity and hope. Through your actions, whether by chance or design, you have inspired our people to believe in a better future. Do you accept the responsibility of this union, knowing the challenges that lie ahead?" Liam hesitated, the gravity of the moment pressing down on him. He looked at Zyra, who met his gaze with quiet determination. Her hand found his, and for the first time, he felt the strength in her grip, a strength that steadied his nerves. "I accept," he said, his voice steady despite the knot in his stomach. "I'll do whatever it takes to help." The elder nodded, their expression one of approval. "Then let the bond be sealed." The symbols on the platform flared to life, their light enveloping Liam and Zyra in a warm golden glow. The energy felt almost tangible, a gentle pulse that resonated in his chest. The crowd outside erupted into cheers as the light spread throughout the hall, spilling into the streets and beyond. As the glow subsided, Liam felt a strange sense of calm settle over him. The crowd's cheers grew louder, their voices echoing through the grand hall. He turned to Zyra, who smiled at him for the first time, a genuine expression of relief and gratitude. "It is done," she said softly. "You have given them hope." Liam nodded, a faint smile tugging at his lips. "I just hope I can live up to it." "You already have," Zyra replied, her glowing eyes shining with emotion. As they stepped down from the platform, the crowd parted to reveal a young Aelorian girl holding a small glowing orb. She approached hesitantly, her wide eyes filled with awe. Handing the orb to Liam, she said, "Thank you for saving us." Liam took the orb, its warmth spreading through his hands. He knelt to her level, his voice gentle. "It wasn't just me. It was all of us, together." The girl smiled and ran back into the crowd, her laughter ringing out like a melody. Liam stood, his resolve strengthening. For the first time, he felt like he truly belonged, not just to Zyra's people, but to a cause greater than himself. As he and Zyra stepped back onto the ship, preparing for the next chapter of their journey, Liam glanced back at the crowd one last time. Their faces were filled with hope, their cheers a reminder of the responsibility he now carried. The path ahead was uncertain, but for the first time, Liam felt ready to face it. Together with Zyra, he would do whatever it took to ensure that the unity they had sparked would grow into something lasting, something that could change the galaxy forever.